Hello everyone and welcome to the ScratchRunning podcast, the official podcast of competitive browse gaming where we don't miss. As always, I'm your host Kieran, and with me on the mic are Lord.
Hello.
Clabs.
Hi.
And the special guest for this episode, WazzoTV.
How's it going, everybody?
Hello.
Who's this guy?
Wazzo's back.
Good to be back.
Believe it?
4 years
Welcome
later.
back to the podcast.
4 years later. It wasn't 4 years, right? Don't make me sound that old. It was it?
I think we
No.
are old.
No. Wait.
Feel old yet?
I never do. Do y'all feel old? Like, honest question.
Do we feel?
Yes.
I feel like
Occasionally.
older, you know.
Oh, yeah, that is good. That is good. That is a good way to see it.
Because like
True.
I'm 23, and so it's like that.
I'm 21 and I think of
when you're
retiring
18,
sometimes.
you think you're like an adult, and then when you're 23, you see 18-year-olds as like children, and then I'm like, I know
Yeah,
I'm gonna see
yeah.
myself as
Yeah.
a kid again when I'm like 30. I'm like, oh, those are 20-year-olds.
Those darn 20-year-olds. Wazzo, do you feel old?
I've
yet.
started to feel very old, so I'm 24. And I feel like
Yes.
your early 20s, you're like, I'm still 17. You just feel that way. And
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
suddenly you're 24 and like you don't understand what all the young kids are like talking about. And you're like, man, I'm like almost midway through my 20s.
There is a jump.
Every time I'm on Scratch, I
It's
feel
gonna
like
have to
that.
me soon.
It's
Yeah.
when so you're 17, you're like I'm a young adult, and you're 18 and like I'm still technically like 17, and then you're 19 and you're like I feel like I'm 18, which felt like I was 17. You get to 20 and you're still like I'm still basically 18. And I think
Yeah.
the event horizon is at 23 to 24, where suddenly you're like, oh, it doesn't. I'm not actually at that age at all anymore. It's been like
Oh boy.
5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 26 now, and I still like when people ask me how old I am, I want to still like in my head, I want to say 22 or something around that. But then I like at some point, time just like works differently, and you just like I get that I notice my birthdays and
Implying
stuff,
time's real.
but then yeah.
You're gonna wake up, Nick, and you're gonna be 30, and you're gonna just
Yeah.
explode.
Real.
I won't explode. I'm
You're-
I'm totally fine with getting
You'll be a
older.
completely new person.
Like all the people that say like, oh, when I'm 30, I'm gonna be so sad because then I'm old. It's like I've heard enough like people say that like in your 30s you're still the way you feel in your 30s is that everybody expects of you to be an adult, but you still don't really feel like it. So with your 40s maybe then you start
Then you're
to,
old.
like almost either you don't care anymore or you just I don't know.
Imagine being
I can't even
40.
think that far. Imagine being 40. It's gonna happen. At
I
some
actually
point.
can't imagine that. Dude, we are getting so real. I just cracked open a Mountain Dew.
Which speeds up the aging process. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's true. I got the Baja Laguna Lemonade. Dew with a blast of mango lemonade flavor. And it tastes...
Is
Yeah,
this a
it tastes pretty
sponsored
good.
segment, Kieran?
Dude, I wish. I wish this were a sponsored segment, dude. It just tastes like lemonade with
That's
mango
the
in it.
Kieran lemonade endorsement.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And to not talk too much about getting old, because we're still on Scratch after all, we're going to have a bunch of people here that would like nothing less than to hear a bunch of old people talking about they're old. We have Wazzo back here, because Wazzo just kind of chatted us up again, told us, hey, so cool that you're still doing this, and would you like to have me on a podcast again, because there's some stuff happening, and boy is there stuff happening. Wazzo, do you wanna like talk a little about what's happening right now?
Why I
in terms
came
of-
back?
Yeah,
Why
what's
you
the
came
deal?
back? Why
Yeah,
did you
sure.
leave?
I'm gonna say,
okay.
I was gonna say, didn't you leave? And never
Okay.
come back?
Truthfully, I've quit Scratch like 4 times. Like throughout my 15 years that I've been on this website, every 4 to 3 years, I quit and then I come back.
Yeah.
But
Also, I can't do this anymore. What are you doing, Todd?
It's like Ghibli.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real. I had that joke in the drafts since Finding a Friend came out.
well, yeah, to give a bit of an explanation as to where have I been and why did I leave. So,
Yeah.
if you remember, after the Scratch saga that I did with David, I made 2 additional projects in 2021. It was my Memories project and Pringle.
You just
and
just got
it was, during the development of those animations, it really kind of it lit my Wazzo flame, so to speak, again, and I got really invested in just making another series. And it was something that I really wanted to do, and I thought would be really fun to make. But, unfortunately, the last project that I shared, Pringled, so that was my junior year of college. And
I could see where this is going.
Yeah, it was kind of like Scratch, as much as I love making animations, I do have a tendency to devote so much of my mental focus into these Scratch projects that it makes other responsibilities in my life harder to do successfonsally. So by the end of my junior year, I was on track to graduate the coming year. I was studying computer science, and it kind of just came to a point where I was like, I could either make this Scratch series or I could graduate. It was like I was faced with that question. I was like, I'm not gonna have
That's pretty silly.
Couldn't do it. Like, it's
weigh out the options.
Although truthfully, if I just could freeze time and work on Scratch, I would do that 100%. But it just made most sense in my life for the year after Pringle to be like, okay, let's focus on
let's get real for a second.
My responsibilities. And then,
let's make my parents proud for once.
But then it's like, I still didn't come back for 2 years after that, and that's really because there were still a bunch of other things that I was doing. I needed to get a job, so the 2 years after college, I was spending my first years working a 9-to-5, a real-life job, and that was definitely a big transition for me. That was something that I think required a lot of my attention. And I also I moved to a new city right after college. Funny enough, I lived in Boston for 2 years. So not too far away from the real life Scratch headquarters. I literally lived in Cambridge. My company is based in Cambridge. So I would joke a lot to my...
You could walk to Scratch 3.0 headquarters.
I joked about it with my brothers all the time. I was like, if I just walked in, would they know who I am?
Hello. I mean,
probably
based on your voice.
Well, I mean, if you came in and said, "Hi, I'm Wazzo," I'm sure they'd be like, "Oh, yeah." I'm sure they know the popular Scratchers, like Griff Patch.
For sure.
They definitely know who Griff Patch is.
Yeah.
Today, I don't even know if they have a front lobby. Do I need to
there's just in your Scratch Saga projects.
That's true. For some reason, I was imagining the MIT Scratch Media Learning Lab to look like the Scratch Saga HQ. There's no way. It's just a classroom or something with a couple professors, probably.
Yeah. It might just be a regular office where they happen to make Scratch.
Yeah.
But getting into why I came back. So that's partially why I left, was just my life got way too crazy to do Scratch. And I feel like, why am I coming back now? I think after graduating, after having 2 years of work experience, I have a little bit more understanding of the ways to kind of, manage my time. I just kind of have the flow of what my life is a little bit more together, which makes doing things on the side a lot easier. But I also have kind of a funny story about a scratcher that I met in person that kind of also kind of ignited the flame to get back on track with Wazzo.
Was it Swifty? No, right?
It was not Swifty. So, so back in the Scratch Saga days, we had a lot of collaborators, and many of us shared, some personal contact information. And
yeah.
around like late 2023, I was getting messages from the scratcher named Dilly. If you guys are familiar,
I think I've
famous
heard of him,
animator.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Of course.
apparently Dilly is a student at a university in the same city that I live in.
Oh,
Not
Holy
Boston,
moly.
actually. I moved out of
Yeah,
Boston.
yeah. That's
But
all right. Yeah.
he was telling me, like, hey man, we should like grab lunch sometime. I was like, that'd be cool. I've only met one scratcher in person before, and it was TNT Squirrel 4 years ago.
Oh.
But that's a story for another
really-
time.
We like that guy.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Nice.
Dude, I would do the same if I had friends in real life.
I'm Karen and I met up, but yeah.
True.
Okay. Yeah.
But so he invited me to lunch, and we met each other. And honestly, it was just a really fun time because it was the first time in a while that I was like talking with somebody just about Scratch. And obviously, that's how Dilly knew me. And Dilly was like a major WazzoTV fan. Like he he knew all the characters, he knew all the animations. So that was just really cool to see, and he was really excited to get to chat with me. And so actually, it both kind of, I think, sparked us to make more Scratch content. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Dilly released a final animation on his page.
Unfortunately, not at all. I need to like have a look at that again. But like I of course Dilly is a name to me here on Scratch.
I've seen some Dilly.
I'm featured just a little bit in his most recent project. It has it's kind of funny because in the project we are our characters, and we have a scenario where our two characters meet at lunch, and it's kind of like the Scratch version of what actually happened in real life.
Dude, this is just like the Scratch saga.
But yeah, anyways, after that lunch, I immediately, it just like something triggered within me, and I spent like 7 hours working on Scratch project. Like it just, all the memories came back in, and I was like, man, I need to finish this series. I can't leave my page on a cliffhanger. So that's where I am now.
Don't let him get pringled.
Couldn't leave it just on the pringled.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm working on the continuation of that story. It'll be a new series Finding a Friend, and it's gonna be a big project. So I've been working on it ever since that lunch, which was last April. Right now it's like 7 months into development.
Incredible.
So,
and was it like Dilly who told you, like at first, like how did you go into that lunch, like, or how was your thought about your projects and stuff, going into that lunch, and in what way did Dilly directly change that, or was it just like the inspiration from talking to another Scratcher and like talking about the old times or whatnot, or was it like, did Dilly say, dude, you really got to finish that, it's such a cool story?
No, so not exactly. I mean, like when he invited me, I think that I was, I felt really bad, and for about a year and a half, I'd wanted to just make something, but I just couldn't find, the push or the drive to make that happen.
Yeah.
And so it's not like Dilly was like telling me that I should do that. It's just that Dilly was like a huge fan of WazzoTV, and it was so cool because he was like fanboying out. he was like, I'm going to tell my family about this. Like, I'm going to tell my brothers.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I did tell my family about the Scratch saga too. I gotta add.
That's awesome.
That is funny.
But it's just, like
That's
you don't
so
get
real.
that. You don't get that kind of interaction in person ever. At least for me.
Yeah.
So to see somebody in person that says like, oh, like I loved these things that you created, that was, I think, ultimately just what made me go, man, I really want to get back into it.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like Scratch is genuinely like just fun to work with. There's definitely drawbacks because it lacks a lot of features, but being able to just edit stuff anywhere, being able to share it with anyone, and having a large audience who's really gonna enjoy it and be inspired by it.
Yeah.
It's just a fun
100%.
motivator to get out there and make something creative.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I say Scratch is just what the internet is about.
It really does
Imagining
feel
programming
like
and
pretty,
sharing.
Yeah.
like super corporate internet, because no one's making any money on Scratch. Everyone's just having fun making silly independent projects.
It's what it's
So true.
about, dude.
Just making fun stuff. 'Cause it's
Anyways, speaking of telling family about Scratch, one time I showed my dad SFRT, and he said they should add me to it.
Just straight up, Kieran.
Which is so funny from my point of view, seeing what can happen on Scratch. He's not aware. He just thinks it'd be cool if my little character with the big hat and the pink jacket were in the game.
So the way I'm seeing it, Kieran, what we have to do now is add like a skin for Edward the Snowman or something,
Edward.
where Edward just has your hat and like maybe some pink attire or something.
If you guys added
would
skins to that game, I think that would be amazing.
I
Dude,
think
yes.
so too. I've been talking about this for so long. I think it wouldn't be too hard like at all. It's just like a little time consuming.
Yeah.
I think if people were to take the sprites and make skins of them, like I think it's just the time consuming thing that I don't prioritize it, and so I don't, I never do it. But if people were to send me skins, I would just probably add them in the end if they're like of the quality of the other.
That's a call to action to you listeners out there.
You'd have to
get into SFRT. Just spend a week making a character.
You'd have to put all the sprites in the project.
Exactly. They just have to they just have to be like of the quality.
Yeah.
That's my only like a wish for that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's exactly that. Quick disclaimer from Apfelord editing the podcast over here. They would also have to be fitting for like the game, and maybe like I would wait until every character has one, just so you don't go out and make your OC as like an Edward skin, and like like it has to make sense. Maybe ask us first about it. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
There you go, Kieran. You can tell your dad you're an SFRT.
Sure.
You're in the credits. Maybe you can tell him that.
I am in the credits.
The question is, what I wanted to say to the topic earlier was, it's so rare for me, especially in Germany, meeting somebody else who's like on the same level of knowing Scratch. Like every now and then I get to talk to people about like my hobbies and what I do on Scratch and stuff, and then I'm always very like careful about bringing up that it's made in Scratch. Not because I'm not exactly like,
it's not shame. It's
not a shame. It's just like you have to.
It's just
people.
It's just weird to explain.
It's
it's very weird to explain.
Yeah, and so I've never met anyone like IRL where like usually the response is either they don't know Scratch, and then I have to like go on about like, oh, it's a little bit of a community. It's very fun to use. That's why I use it. No, I don't know actual programming. I'm sorry. And then there's the other part of, if they do know Scratch, then they're like, what?
Really? That's the reaction we got at Gamescom.
Yeah. If they do know Scratch, they only used it like either on school laptops or something once.
Yeah.
And they're just like in awe either, or just incredibly confused about
why would you do all of this?
Right? Yeah.
Nick, you have to consider the alternative angle here too, because Wazzo and I are computer scientists. So if someone asks why you use Scratch, you gotta answer like, well, listen, Java has its uses, and Python is great for analyzing data, but it's it's just fun to have to do everything yourself and use this.
Yeah.
Gotta remind him that HTML isn't a programming language.
You're right. I don't talk to programmers a bunch. Oh man. Is okay. So I mean, the other thing we already talked about last episode was that Kieran and I, Kieran lives in the UK, I live in Germany. We met over Scratch, and this year at Gamescom in Cologne, we actually met.
I'm still working on the video. I promise.
It's such a good one too. Like, I saw snippets of it. Y'all are gonna love that. But like, that was another part where I felt exactly probably like you did, Wazzo, after that talk with Dilly, where it's like seeing people IRL, not just on the internet, like react to your game, and also meeting another person you could talk to about Scratch, is like, that just that ignites the flame.
My dream, this has never happened before, but I wish that this would happen sometime. I want to just meet somebody like in my everyday life where I bring up Scratch and they go like, "Oh yeah, I love Scratch."
Yes!
And I'll be like, "Do you know this guy named WazzoTV?" And he'll be like, "Yeah." And I'll just blow their mind. Like, that's me.
And then the gears start to churn. Right? They listen to your voice. They're like, hold on a minute.
So I've had this experience in the weirdest way. Because
really?
I've had it, but it wasn't with anything like any project I was especially proud of. Because I've made like really dumb projects that got really popular.
Oh, no. Bill Gates money catch.
Someone recognized me from my like Among Us Be Like joke April
Oh,
Fool's
dude,
video.
Among Us Be Like.
I was like, I forgot I even made that. I don't even think about that.
I mean, to be fair, you do have a very recognizable voice.
That is true. That is true.
I think
hold on, Clabs. How did that conversation go?
I think they saw me having Scratch open. This was like freshman year at university. I was still like trying to do the initial version of Goomble Gurt 2 and like failing. And I think someone was like, "Oh yeah, I also like Scratch," and it was just one of those conversations. And they didn't like immediately recognize anything I asked them about. But when we looked at my like projects, they did recognize the Among Us Be Like.
Among Us Be Like.
So it wasn't exactly a fanboy moment, but it was interesting.
See, the difference with me and Nick is that it was mutual.
Yeah,
because we're the same.
100%. I guess it's also a different thing when you actually meet up with someone, like knowingly that you're gonna meet up with someone who's I mean, we've been talking a bunch, but for you, Wazzo, only having talked to Dilly a little before, and then him, as you said, like fanboying out.
It is different.
While you're grabbing lunch, it is different.
Yeah.
Kieran and I were just playing Step Maniacs over and over again. That was fun.
That's just true. We ran out of things to do at Gamescom real quick.
May I ask, Wazzo, just because I'm super interested, because we also had Swifty too, of course, on the podcast once, and talked to him a bunch. Like, he's a busy man. I wanna add that. That's totally fair. That's just what life does. But the question for me is just like how did that evolve? Because we all, in the You Just Got Pringled project. That was like the big. That was such a big thing for me to see. Like, oh, Swifty's in this too. That's so cool. But like, how was it? Did it just like fade out? Because you said Swifty's no longer being on the project, right?
Right.
Or no longer part of the whole thing.
Right. So, I mean, like the original idea of bringing Swifty on board was actually something that me and David had wanted when we made the Scratch Saga. Originally, we really wanted Swifty to voice Cash, the villain.
Wow, yes, of course.
And I think that, we thought that Swifty would be interesting because one, veteran scratcher, which I thought was cool, and then also we thought that, from what we had heard from some of his voice acting, that he'd be really fit for something like that. So then, coming to finding a friend, making a new series after the Scratch Saga, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to get some more veteran scratchers to come back for something cool? And so, the original idea was to have Swifty voicing one of the characters, Detective Stephen R. Clark, his name. And, I mean, there's an alternate universe where I made Finding a Friend that year, and I didn't graduate, and Swifty would have been in that series. But
I would have.
Originally, he was, just supposed to voice one of the main characters, and ultimately, I didn't kickstart the progress back into the series until this year. So it had been 3 years since I had spoken to him. So I was still interested in having him on board. So I reached out and asked if he was going to be interested. But ultimately, I think he's just busy with other projects right now, which makes sense.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. That was just something that interested me. Like, how did that go?
So, like, that character now still has an open, like I'm still trying to kind of determine who's going to voice that character. It might just be me. I have made attempts to reach to reach out to similar other veteran scratchers of the same era of Swifty. Not as successfully. I didn't get a response from one guy as of yet.
Interesting.
Who all of you guys would know, I assume. I'll just name drop them here. The Exploding Cheese.
Oh
yes,
my
yes.
goodness.
But I never got a
freaking
response
gold.
back. Actually, originally I reached out to him 3 years ago too to see if he was interested, and he didn't respond. Which is fine. But
I mean, that's the other like not side of the coin maybe, but like some people really just do leave Scratch.
Yeah, it was funny
Apparently.
making code breakers, and we'd make like entire characters based on Scratchers who might not even remember Scratch exists.
That's so interesting.
Who's that other cheese guy? The
Captain Cheese or Captain.
the other cheese guy.
Captain Cheese.
Captain Cheese.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I guess
remember
Ali
Captain
Animate or Ali Animates in the same DLC. And I don't think either of them probably know that game exists.
Wow. Wow. Did you ever add like the what are they called, like the Maki Tak, the Taki? What
I would have loved to add a Taki. I think Takis are so fascinating.
That's like
that was such a huge thing on Scratch that it felt like it was like a part of the like internet as a whole when I was a kid. I was like, I had Taki OCs. That's just a thing, not a thing at all. No one does that. No one remembers it.
But they're like they're in my brain forever now.
They're in my brain.
So true.
I've heard about them, but I don't think I was on Scratch during that era. Like I was on Scratch 2010, 2011. But for whatever reason, that never was on my radar.
Yeah.
The only Takis I know about are the chips. What is that?
Is this green lizard with like red? It was like a lizard adaptation of a My Little Pony OC. Is how that felt.
Yeah.
So everyone was able to make like a little My Little Pony OC, but lizard-esque.
Yeah. A lizard
Creature.
Incredible. So Maki Tak was the most popular one, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I believe that was the main one.
And like, listen to this. Followers 2,700. Just to say, like,
that's so little. That's less than me.
We are so niche.
For that time, that was so much. And I was like, just like you, Clabs, I was like, yeah, that is internet culture right here, right? Like, no, it was Scratch culture for Scratch 1.
Couple days.
1.4, yeah. So strange to me. It's always in my heart.
I have to make a Maki Tak for like Goomble Gurt or something.
Yes, please.
Dude.
So funny.
Put him in the game, dude.
Call him Goomble Tak. I don't know. Call him something. It's great. Can I just ask some more questions to Wazzo? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Maki Tak over here. Wazzo, you have a YouTube channel.
I do.
How did that happen?
Well, it's something I should have created long ago. I'll start with that. There's been an unofficial WazzoTV YouTube channel for like 7 years, and it still has more subscribers than my own.
You're getting there though.
True.
You're getting there.
Yeah, I just think it's the I think it's the natural thing to do, especially with kind of long length animations on Scratch. You know, just having an accessible form of that animation that you can watch on YouTube, I think is a great thing to have. And then also I think that I just have a lot of legacy content that is purely on Scratch, and I think that it would make sense to port a lot lot of that
Didn't someone re-up the entire Scratch saga just because probably wouldn't load for most people?
That was Rocket. The Scratcher Rocket.
On the bit before about Scratch being the embodiment of old internet, that is just what you would do. Because if your favorite other website user didn't have YouTube, you would just make a channel and re-up it.
Yep. So true. But now it's time for Wazzo to claim those.
But now the real Wazzo television has arrived.
to DMCA those other
Okay, Nintendo.
But
upload it later and then get them.
So with some of my bigger ones too, I've been thinking. So I mean, this is also a big project for me this year, and it's part of the reason why finding a friend is taking so long. Is that I kind of have this big roadmap of porting all of my legacy content onto YouTube. And
Yeah.
some of the ideas I have for that is that, you guys have watched the Scratch Saga, there's just like a ton of copyrighted music. So like in the sake of, trying to make sure that my animations don't get taken down by YouTube, I might be doing some changes to some of the soundtrack pieces to try to fit in some royalty-free music, which is not the best,
thing where
but
it's like this album but sung by me.
yeah.
Like everything it's all just me.
Acapella.
Dude, the Terraria Underground theme, but everything's a cappella.
Yes,
videos.
You just have to do exactly that.
I think there's a certain charm to royalty-free music that I think would work with Scratch Saga because it's definitely of its time, and so dun 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 dramatic like music.
we love Kevin MacLeod in this house.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Shout out to Cyborg Ninja.
Dude, yes. Cyborg Ninja, which became the theme song now of Super Fighter Retournament.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Dude, the SFRT music goes so hard.
I agree, and it's all like based on that, and I'm so happy for it. But yeah, like while surpassing the old Not Your Wazzo channel, like a YouTube channel, we're gonna get some remasters of old Wazzo projects. That's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I'm
and
already looking forward to like watching the entire saga again. Sorry.
Yeah, the thing that I'm excited for is that once Finding Your Friend is finished, I will 100% be uploading a video that's just all of the cinematic, projects in
the
one
entire
video,
saga.
which will be like a full movie. It'll be like 3 hours
awesome.
long.
Yeah.
So that is probably a long ways away, but I'm very excited for that to
Absolute cinema.
Cinema, right there. Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of cinema, did you know we got 2 new Google Doodles this week?
Oh yes. Okay, let's quickly talk about the Google Doodles because that's something we love to talk about as well.
There's this browser gaming exploding head emoji. The first one is a card game about the phases of the moon, where you can either make pairs or make cycles on a little grid.
Okay.
Google just invented.
They made a new card game. We would talk about that in a podcast. Like, there should be a new simple board game or a new kind of card game.
That's my dream.
And then Google did it. You should You should play Rise of the Half Moon on the Doodle Archive.
You know what? I will look it up.
Thank
Perhaps
you.
you're gonna love that one.
You're gonna love it.
That one.
And the second Google Doodle that released this week is Magic Cat Academy 3.
Woo!
Yeah.
People. I mean, okay, when this episode goes live, like Halloween has already passed. Sorry, no Halloween. Google Doodle this time around. Wait, not Google Doodle. SRCast is what.
No Halloween episode. But they put Magic Cat Academy 3 on the Doodle Archive real early, so I got to play like a development version of it.
Pretty much.
It's awesome.
Very nice.
So
is it better than the previous ones, Karen?
I'm not sure. It feels maybe shorter.
It is much shorter in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just a little one. But if what we didn't get in Magic Cat Academy 3, we did get in that Moon card game, and that one really the only thing that game is missing is an online.
Dude, yes.
I would love that.
Let's make some cards and play Rise of the Half Moon.
You can make it on Scratch.
Dude, exactly. You can make it on Scratch.
Cloud game on Scratch.
Variables.
I want to talk about this on the after show, but Scratch Attach got a new update.
Scratch Attach 2, I saw that in your favorites.
Smokes. Okay, anyways. Great Google Doodles, play them all.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Half Moon Google Doodle is still up.
I think that's not
this
the
is
Google
our
logo anymore.
Segment from Google.
We're not. Look.
Oh, can
Google
you imagine?
Is cool with Scratch, and we're just cool with the stuff they do sometimes.
I'm cool with the Doodles.
Except when they take down fan-made content about Google Doodles. Anyways.
They do that? What the heck?
There was the whole Jerry Lawson, the Google Doodle, which was basically Mario Maker, and then somebody made, because you had no good way to do it, somebody made a
they did sue Red
browser,
Mushroom, didn't they?
And they sued the guy who made a level browser for the game about making levels. What is wrong with him? But
that's
I mean, Lawson Levels Gallery is still up, but I think Red has to talk to Google about it.
Yes. And they had to find some way. I don't know. Maybe it was totally fine, but
good website.
It just got
by the way.
straight up taken down first. that's never fine. No
Anyways.
wait, yeah.
Yeah, Doodles launcher is still alive and well for now.
True. Do we have any more little questions? I know we're like 30 minutes.
We're 36 minutes into recording.
Do we have some more questions for Wazzo? Or
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Wazzo, like how? So you said like 3 hours. So are you gonna just make a bunch of like 10 to 20-minute projects, and it's just gonna be like something you're gonna be working on in the background for a while now?
Well, as it currently stands, I kind of have like I have pre-existing projects that follow a continuous story. That if you put those all together, it's like 2 hours, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the old
Yeah.
ones. Maybe I misunderstood something, but like
We thought finding a friend was going to be 3 hours.
Oh, no.
No.
Finding a friend, that's my prediction, is that it might be an hour long. So that's why I'm saying that in total, it'll be 3 hours.
An hour is still insane. And you're saying you're releasing that all at once, right?
Well, I think I'm going to be, I'm making it all at once, but it's going to have to be separate projects. So,
Wazzo, I genuinely advise you, has made it so much easier for me to, if you have this huge project, to put it out in parts. If you're going to put it out in parts anyways, I would release it like serially. Also, it gives you motivation. You get to see people interacting with it and having fun with it. And it takes a little bit of pressure off of you making sure everything is perfect right up until release.
So true.
That is,
isn't that what happened to Isn't that what happened to Comet's Adventures and Goomble Gurt 2?
Yeah, we're teasing it. It's gonna happen.
I definitely thought about that, and that makes a lot of sense. And that is what I did for all of my previous animations. They were all made consecutively. Right. And I think that this time around, I've thought about this a lot. My thought process of making it all at once is kind of, for one, I feel just a little bit scared about releasing one part and then not finishing it again, because I already did that 3 years ago. So I feel like if I have the momentum to just make it all at once, maybe go forward with that. And then also, on the other hand, I feel like something that I've been interested about is the fact that, like, all of my previous projects I've done consecutively, and I felt this, like, rush to get the projects out. Like, Scratch Saga Part 3, we were, like, working on that project the day of that it was post-release, And I've been thinking more recently, like, what could I do if I just gave myself as much time as I needed to make something super polished, something where I finish it and I go, like, this is the best thing I could have possibly made.
I totally get that. I would just say, if you feel like you're getting burnt out at like the final mile and you've already completed most of it, maybe just say screw it and post it. So rather than have like this huge, enormous project that's 90% done, that you feel like you need to get it all done. And if you ever submit
before
it
it never
parts,
sees the light of day.
If you do it in parts too, you don't need to give yourself deadlines. Like, you can just say, expect the next part, maybe within a year, maybe not. I don't know when I'll post it. That's totally an acceptable option.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I'm still kind of like, I'm taking it month by month to kind of see where I'm at with the project. But I have been thinking that maybe, like, to fill in the gap of there being so much time, I think it'd be cool to make some more kind of side content on my second channel. Stuff that's smaller, easy to make,
distraction
bonus
projects.
Content.
Distraction project.
This is something Nick and I talk about. It's to help you do the main project. You do a smaller project, and then when you get tired of the side project, you go back to the main project.
Yeah,
it's a recalibration of sorts every now and then.
Real.
Yeah, it works really well.
Also, like, another weird thing about me with regards to WazzoTV, which is really to my detriment, but it's just something that like I have within me, where I feel like I can't share a project on my main account unless the quality of that project is greater than or equal to the last project.
Wow.
Which it's not like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like a perfectionist thing about me, but it's just like, it's like ever since the Scratch Saga, I was like, I can't just make another, like 5-minute funny video. I feel like I need to make something more. So, but that comes to my detriment.
That can be both productive and also definitely like hold you back, because it definitely will help you if you want to just continually get better. But on the other hand, it's like you get better by just making those silly projects over and over again. You're going to naturally be drawing and animating more. And if you're having fun doing those things, that's a good enough motivation to keep learning and keep making. What you could do is if you wanted to make a stupid small project, you could bundle it up with a bunch of them and like make like a DVD set of small stupid projects.
Oh, dude.
Actual bonus features.
It feels like it's a big project.
There's the other thing Kieran and I noticed earlier with you posted like little screenshots of finding a friend, and there's a chapter select I saw for the part 1 or for however you're gonna do it. And to me, like, that reminded me a lot of like how DVDs work. But of course it's Scratch, so it's no video that you can just like scroll through. But with the chapter select, I really love that way of going about it, especially if it's such a big project or long video.
Yeah, that's like another component of something I've been thinking about for this series, is ways that I could kind of re-engineer animations on Scratch, and with something that is the size of my projects, where they're usually like 15 minutes long. I've been kind of like dabbling with ideas of like, what ways could I make a chapter select menu, or like a pause button, or a timeline bar would be really cool. Closed captioning would be really awesome too. So
that would be good to be able to turn on and off.
Right. I think that's something where you would have to. Are you working with anybody else on this project right now, or is it just you?
Right now, it's a fully solo endeavor right now.
It's your boy.
If you do closed captions with a like text-based system where you have the captions written in a list as data, you could actually use the Scratch Translate blocks, which use Google Translate to make it.
That would be awesome.
Interesting.
Pirate speak. No, I don't know. That's not. You remember in Minecraft?
Minecraft pirates. You can watch Wazzo's projects in pirate speak. Finally, subtitles for me.
Yar.
Yar. Okay, maybe we've teased it enough. And Wazzo, if there's anything else we missed, please let us know.
I guess I'll just mention one more thing.
Please.
I feel like my entire life I've been running away from Scratch. I've been quitting. I've left for years. For whatever reason, the universe just keeps bringing me back. And I think I've just reached the point where I've decided I don't think I'll ever quit. Like, maybe I will leave for extended periods of time, but I just think it's like ingrained in myself that this is just a thing I do, which I think is kind of funny.
It's like it has a mesmer on you. It's just like, man, I remember Scratch. I'm gonna go look at old projects, and you're like, you know what, I could do this,
and then it makes you come back.
It just happens.
But like, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, like it is just the ultimate sandbox to be creative and just literally just create anything that you want, like any weird idea that comes to your head.
It really is the fun zone.
It is, yeah. So I've kind of been rethinking the whole idea of like, do I need to quit? Like, if this is just something that I enjoy and gives me,
it's just a hobby. It's just something you enjoy.
Hobby. There's this whole thing, and maybe like, okay, I don't care how long this podcast will be, but we're gonna release a part 2 if we must. But like, of course, there's this whole topic about it holding. No, okay, this is just me talking. I'm not like saying don't take this as gospel, please. Okay, the thought always crept into my head where it's like, is it holding me back of like evolving and like learning something like I'm gonna call it in quotation marks actual programming where that would, you know, where I would be able to do more with that if I just gave it a try or like an more honest try than I have before. But it's as you say, Wazzo, where I just don't think there's anything wrong with such a with a program that just lets you do stuff at like a really, in my opinion, like healthy pace where there's some programs or maybe if I ever started to like actually program where I would get stuck most of the time. But with Scratch, it's just, I just know what to do, right? I can just super easily put stuff together, quickly show it to people, get feedback.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Scratch is so, like, ingrained in my head, like, just, like, the way that you build things that, like, I have no thoughts when I'm doing Scratch. Like, it's just, like, I'm just going. And it's just purely, like, everything that I've done for the past 15 years. So... I definitely understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's just the coolest part about Scratch. And then people keep making cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Other people. If it was just me making stuff, maybe it wouldn't be as fun. But then there's, you know, your animations I can look forward to. Kieran and I making a game that is amazing. Let me just...
Dude, I was just gonna...
I may say that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna be on this website forever because my favorite platform fighter is on there. And my favorite speed game.
And then Clabs is out here to finally get the segue over to Goomble Gurt 2.
Goomble Gurt 2, everybody.
Clabs is out here making Goomble Gurt 2
and
releasing it without telling us about it. Just releasing it. Just saying it's gonna happen. And
what are you talking about? I've told you Goomo Gurt 2 is coming
like
out for 7 years. Okay, listen. You've had 7 years to prepare. The opposition said it would never happen. And yet here it is. Goomo Gurt 2.
Nobody said that.
Pepper Reddit. I think some people thought it. I think some people thought it would probably not come out just because felt like it was taking forever. But listen, those
Did you
are
think
people...
it at times?
At times I considered it, but I told myself, I promised myself, since I made Goomble Gurt 1, hey, people really liked this. I gotta make the sequel.
We're getting a second one.
I did it. It's a top 10 Scratch game, if I do say so myself.
It is so cool. It is so dang cool. And like, okay, first of all, I have a lot to say about this game. I have many things to say. We may not be able to say them all because we're already at minute 50. I don't care. I just want to ask, how the heck are you like bringing out these updates so quickly? I cannot keep up.
There's a thing.
Okay, Wazzo, you just in case you don't know, or maybe you've seen it, Clabs did the exact thing they mentioned earlier, where it's like instead of having this huge project and dropping it all at once and it having to be perfect all at once, they just drop it chapter 1. See how the people react to it. Then we get, and honestly, I was thinking we were gonna get like chapter 2 next year, start of next year or something. But then Clabs just like, what was it, like 2-3 weeks later? Not even.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks, and it's chapter 2, more content. I didn't even finish chapter 2 now. Now chapter 3's out. How?
Here's the slice, Nikolai. Here's the truth behind my magic program. The thing that took so freaking long to make Goomo Gurt 2 was the engine. I needed to make a map engine. I needed to make an engine that would store
Various
data.
engines.
You can make a huge save code. I needed to program basically assembly in Scratch to run operations for cutscenes, so I didn't have to hard code everything. And I did it. And now every time I want to make a new chapter, all I need to do is draw. I just draw a bunch of stuff. I slap it in. I write a little assembly.
And you create the world after that.
It's very easy to make new chapters. So they're gonna be popping out left and right.
So you tell me like the whole and this makes a lot of sense probably, but like the whole story and how it develops was all, you're not thinking of that on the fly, or you're not building that right now. You had it mapped out in your head already, pretty
more
much.
or less,
or somewhere written down.
So listen, Goomble Gurt 2 is like a 7, maybe 8-year project. So, I wrote the story when I was a child, and then I had to rewrite it, and then rewrite it, and then rewrite it. I basically know everything I want to happen, but I've had to change the details so many times that I don't keep too much of a fine-grained document of them. Like, I know what's going to happen next chapter, I know what's going to happen the chapter after that. But when I'm actually like writing the dialogue and drawing the panels, I don't have that planned out ahead of time.
Cool.
I see. And
we do have branching paths now, I think.
Yes.
Because we did accidentally enter the
Grinkle Zone.
Yeah. This is very funny actually. We used luck and rolled 2 nat 1s.
Yep. We took our like luck, not stat, but like the luck point, so you can roll 2 die instead of 1.
Yep.
And have an extra chance. And what do we get? 2 1s, which
they wanted you to go to the Grinkle Zone, Nick. The universe
was so bad.
wanted you to be the Grinkle God.
In that moment, I thought you programmed that in. That like takes you there every time. But
that would have been funny.
And okay, like let's talk about the Grinkle Zone for one moment. We had that boss fight at the end, just on the stream last time, where we got like a legendary Goomble, if you will, right?
Oh yeah.
Can you call the Grinkle Beast
the level 20 Grinkle Beast?
You could call it that because
it's
catch multiple.
It's
of
always
them.
there. You can catch multiple of them.
At the end of the Grinkle Zone, something occurs, and there are more Grinkle Beasts.
Good to know. All right.
Okay.
Anyways, I wanted to say how we got a shiny one at first. And,
our first encounter with the Grinkle Beast was a shiny.
And I thought it was like a shiny Gyarados thing where it's always shiny because it's a legendary Goomble. And then, of course, we couldn't catch it because we sucked. And then, like 2 encounters later, when we tried again, we got a variant of it, which is like kind of like a shiny, but it's drawn differently. It doesn't have different colors. And we didn't catch that one either. And you were in chat, Clabs. You were in chat like, oh, this is a very strong Goomble. You should probably not try to catch it. And then we get the variant, and then we get the shiny, and you're telling me, oh, don't catch this like thing I'm dangling.
It's a boss fight. If you have the skills to pay the bills, Nick, I would put you on that path. I have to tell you, you are not the Goomo Master.
I am not.
I keep telling you, Nick, you can play on easy mode.
You can't even fish.
I can't even fish. No, but I don't. I like a challenge, I want people. I'm just being bad for content.
That's fair. You did have a full hour of Grinkle Zone.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
You just had a full hour. Did we get out of the Grinkle Zone even?
We did. We're like on. I don't know. There's a whole bridge on the left. We have like yet to see, but that's gonna happen now probably in the next stream.
You guys have to click Goomble Matter and then go do the celebration.
We need to find Goombles in the Grinkle Zone and not get any Grinkle Matter.
Speaking of, I mean, this episode has been a banger so far, and we're so far into it, and I'm a bit scared about it. But fear not, we're going to talk about a lot more on the after show.
The after show,
as mentioned. But just to get a quick like thank you in for the people who have been like looking at our YouTube for whatever reason. We have actually hit 500 subs, which was like a little goal, not only from us, from our standpoint, but from YouTube's standpoint, because now it's not even, we can't even have ads. Don't worry about it yet.
Yeah.
But it opens up a little more like features for us, and we got the supers and whatnot. You can
chat.
You could directly support ScratchRunning if you want that. Aside from the patrons,
right from the premiere chat.
Yeah, shout out to Josers and Truly Azul who have been supporting us. For
the Patreon.
Thank
making
you,
stuff like the website work.
Monthly Patreon mention.
So true. And yeah, I don't know. That's just wonderful. We're gonna finally maybe actually have affordable ScratchRunning merch if people actually want that. I don't know.
Soon.
That would be awesome. I want that.
I don't even want to like.
Well, we have the legendary Edward mug, but right now the only way to get it is to be a patron for 3 months.
You should sell I want the Edward mug. Listen,
Clabs, your story with the Edward.
Listen. Okay, so I added the second by second emote system, so you listeners on Scratch can send emotes while listening to the podcast that other people can see. And my reward was to get the Edward mug, but to get it through Patreon would have not been feasible because I would have had to pay for it. Kind of. And Nick wanted to treat me, so Nick sent me a stipend to go purchase it myself. And fool as I was like, ooh, a temperature reacting mug with Edward the Snowman? This would be so silly. It would be like Edward melts away. What arrives in the mail is a thimble-sized mug, pitch black, with a faded ghost of Edward's visage poorly strewn across it. After heating it in the oven at like 400 degrees for like a minute. The eyes of Edward would glint into a momentary pass before fading away to the void. And then Nick was like, "Oh, go buy a different one," and then I forgot. So I don't have it.
So you still have the ghost Edward mug?
I think I recently just threw it away. It was a horrible mug.
Right, yeah. That's completely fair.
It wasn't even an Edward mug most of the time. The Edward mug that I have is like on my desk.
I want a huge coffee mug. I want one of those. You remember Aziz Ansari's Reese's Peanut Butter Cup mug? Is like removing net neutrality. I want one. I want a mug that size.
I didn't think people would actually want huge mugs, but just for you, Clabs, I'm gonna make that.
Huge mug.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot about the net neutrality thing.
You forgot the soap and pipe mug guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
We should probably reel the fish in for this, and then we can go on to the show.
Heck yeah. Wazzo, for all the Scratch listeners out there who are not gonna hop over to YouTube, thank you so much for being on the SRCast again.
For sure. Thank you so much for letting me come on. It was a great time.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime if you want to talk about the old days of Scratch and the new days of Scratch. What's happening? What's gonna happen soon?
Big things coming.
Big things coming. The old people on Scratch, the takeover. It's gonna happen.
We're making a comeback.
The return.
You're gonna see Goomo Gurt 2 plastered
of the
across
old people.
Let's go.
We're gonna end up with a Goomble mug right next to the Edward one on the shelf.
Oh, a Goomble mug! You're tempting
Clabs,
me, Kieran.
You're part of ScratchRunning. You can do anything you like. Anyways, yeah. Thanks to Wazzo. Thanks to Clabs, of course, for being back.
I need a Catsquito plush.
Right. Oh. Okay. If we can get 300 people to want a Catsquito plush, it can happen. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, Clabs has always been mad at me because I don't reel in the fish fast enough. So I'm the one grabbing
the recording's now stopped.